Ravens fans, this stretch of the season has been wild, and every week it feels like we peel back another layer of what this team is dealing with. When you look at how the offense has been performing lately, it is impossible to ignore how different things feel compared to earlier in the year. The scoring has dipped, the rhythm looks off, and the explosive element that usually defines this group has not shown up consistently. A lot of that comes back to Lamar Jackson's physical condition, because anyone who watches him regularly can tell he has not looked like the fully unleashed version of himself when a quarterback who relies on instinct, timing, and sudden bursts of movement starts looking even slightly restricted. It changes the way defenses prepare for him over these past few games. You can see opponents crowding the line, stacking defenders inside, daring the Ravens to stretch the field instead of respecting Lamar's ability to escape like he usually does. Opposing defenses are treating him differently, and that alone says plenty. What makes it more complicated is that it is not just Lamar battling through something. The offense as a whole has been fighting through its share of issues. The blocking has been shaky on the interior, and when the middle of the line fails to create space or keep pressure out of Lamar's face, it throws the timing of everything off. Even the run game, which should be a natural stabilizer with a powerful backfield, has struggled to get rolling when there is no room to work with. Then you have the moments where Lamar has had chances to make throws and just narrowly missed, and moments when receivers have dropped passes that absolutely needed to be secured. It has been a mix of every possible problem happening at the same time, and that combination makes any offense look predictable and sluggish. Still, despite all of that, this team keeps finding ways to win, and that is what makes the conversation so much more interesting. They have put together a strong winning streak even with all the bumps and bruises piling up. The schedule easing up these past few weeks definitely helped, but it is still impressive to see them pull out victories while so many core pieces have been banged up. It shows resilience, depth, and the kind of grit that carries teams deeper into the season. Now, heading into this showdown with Cincinnati, it feels like all eyes are locked on how Lamar looks physically, because the Ravens need him as close to 100% as possible with the Bengals getting their leader back on the field. Joe Burrow returning adds a completely different layer to this matchup. Cincinnati looked lost without him, and even with how much he has battled injuries of his own this season, his presence alone gives that entire offense new life. The respect between Burrow and Lamar runs deep, and you can hear it every time either one talks about the other. Burrow knows exactly how dangerous Lamar is, even when he is not fully healthy, and Lamar understands the kind of precision and competitiveness Burrow brings every single time he steps onto the field. Whenever these two meet, the energy feels different, and this game is no exception. Cincinnati desperately needed a spark, and Burrow coming back gives them one. Their fans might feel like the season is slipping away, and the record makes that understandable. But whenever a quarterback of his caliber returns, there is always a belief that things can still turn in the right direction if he can get hot fast enough. The big question is how sharp he will look after being out since early September. Because no matter how talented he is, stepping into a rivalry game on a holiday night after that much time off is no small task. He brings mobility, accuracy, and a calmness under pressure that few quarterbacks in the league can match. But it is still fair to wonder how quickly he can return to that level. What makes the story even more fascinating is how Cincinnati held things together without him. Their backup situation turned into one of the most surprising parts of their season, and at times it looked like the offense had enough juice to steal games they probably had no business being in. They were right on the edge so many times, but close losses stacked up, and that is the kind of thing that haunts a team when it looks back on a season full of missed chances. Now that Burrow is returning, the entire dynamic shifts, and Cincinnati finally gets to see what their offense can do with its top leader back in place. Baltimore, on the other hand, is focused on tightening everything up around Lamar. The number of hits he has taken recently is concerning, and the team knows it. His sack rate is higher than it should be, and every time he takes a hit, there is that moment where the entire fan base holds its breath. The toe injury, the ankle, the knee, it has been something new every week, and even though he has fought through all of it, you can see it affecting his burst and his decision-making. This offense is built around his versatility, so when he cannot move the same way, the entire structure becomes more fragile. That is why this mini break before Cincinnati feels so important. If Lamar comes out looking refreshed, quicker, and more like the player we are used to, this offense immediately becomes harder to defend. If he still looks limited, then Baltimore will need to find answers fast. Meanwhile, the Ravens' defense has slowly worked its way back into form. After stumbling during the first part of the year, there was a stretch of games where they just could not get the key stops they needed, and everything felt out of sync. Lately, though, they have tightened up, regained their confidence, and returned to looking like a disruptive unit rather than a reactive one. That defensive improvement came at the perfect time, especially with the offense sputtering. But now they face one of their toughest tests, even with Burrow coming off in absence. The Bengals still have weapons who can take over a game if given the chance. And this Ravens defense has seen firsthand what can happen if communication breaks down or pressure fails to get home. What makes this matchup so compelling is how much it could shift the direction of the division. The AFC North has been chaotic all season long, and every team has taken unexpected hits at the worst moments. What once looked like one of the strongest divisions has turned into a survival contest, where injuries, inconsistency, and weird collapses have left the standings looking messy. A win here gives Baltimore a chance to seize control, especially with another divisional matchup looming right after this for Cincinnati. It is about keeping hope alive, proving that Burrow's return still means something, and keeping the season from slipping completely out of reach. And running beneath all of it is the shared respect between these quarterbacks, the competitive fire on both sides, and the sense that whenever these teams meet, something dramatic is bound to happen. Every storyline seems to collide at once: the injuries, the comebacks, the pressure, the history, and it sets the stage for another high-energy battle under the lights. As we roll into the second part of this breakdown, the focus shifts toward the matchups that will shape this Thanksgiving night showdown. Because this game isn't just about the quarterbacks returning from injuries, or two teams trying to steady their seasons. It's about execution, adjustments, and which side can finally shake off the inconsistencies that have defined so much of the year. The Ravens' offense versus the Bengals' defense has quietly become one of the most unpredictable matchups in the division. No matter what the records say, these games rarely go according to script, and both sides enter with something to prove. Baltimore wants to show that their offense can return to form, even if Lamar isn't quite his full explosive self. Cincinnati wants to show they can finally slow down a unit that has given them nightmares in recent years. Even when the Ravens have been far from perfect, for Baltimore, everything starts up front. The offensive line has taken heat all season long, and for good reason. When your quarterback is getting hit the way Lamar has been, it disrupts every level of the offense. The interior protection has been shaky, and defenses have clearly identified that as the easiest place to attack. The Bengals' defensive front, even with its inconsistencies this year, still has the size and quickness to collapse pockets if the Ravens aren't disciplined. What makes the situation more complicated is that Baltimore can't fully rely on Lamar's legs to bail out the offense the way he has done countless times in the past. When he's healthy, he can turn a broken play into a highlight. When he's not at 100%, those opportunities shrink, and the offense must rely more heavily on timing, accuracy, and consistent blocking. That changes the entire style of how Baltimore is used to winning games. Then you look at the run game, which has been another point of frustration. Derrick Henry has had flashes, but he hasn't been able to completely take over games the way Ravens fans were hoping. When he first arrived, part of that is the blocking. Part of that is defenses stacking the box because they aren't as worried about Lamar pulling the ball and taking off, and part of it is the Ravens becoming too predictable in certain situations. Teams have picked up on their tendencies, especially early in games when Baltimore often starts slow. That predictability has allowed defenses to focus heavily on shutting down the run and forcing the Ravens into uncomfortable passing downs. If the Bengals can get Baltimore into third and long situations consistently, that plays directly into their strengths. On the other side, the Bengals' defense has been one of the most puzzling units in the league. At times, they look like a disciplined, aggressive group capable of containing even the most dangerous offenses. But then there are stretches where they can't generate pressure, blow coverages, and allow opponents to march down the field almost uncontested. When Baltimore has taken advantage in the past, it's often been because of that inconsistency. The Ravens don't need Lamar to put up 5 highlight plays. If the defense is going to give them open throws, big rushing lanes, and mismatches across the middle, Cincinnati must be sharp from the opening snap. Because if they let Baltimore find a rhythm early, it becomes a long night very quickly. The Ravens' offense thrives when it can dictate pace, motion, and tempo, forcing the defense to react instead of attack. But the real chess match in this game happens when the Bengals' offense takes the field against Baltimore's defense. The Ravens' defense earlier in the season looked lost at times, especially against high-powered offenses that knew how to exploit soft spots in coverage. But recently, this unit has reestablished its identity. They're playing faster, tackling cleaner, communicating better, and forcing turnovers at key moments. Now the question becomes how they will handle a Bengals offense that finally has Joe Burrow back at the controls. Even if Burrow isn't fully in rhythm yet, even if the rust shows early, he brings structure and confidence that Cincinnati has been missing. His presence alone changes what kind of calls they can make and how aggressive they can be. The Ravens secondary is going to have its hands full no matter what version of Burrow shows up. His chemistry with his top receivers, especially in quick game situations, is something that can neutralize Baltimore's pass rush. Burrow doesn't need to scramble to beat you. Sometimes he just needs that quick two-step drop, that perfectly placed slant, that anticipation throw over the middle. And Baltimore has struggled at times with those kinds of plays. The Bengals don't need to hit deep shots on every drive. They just need to stay ahead of the sticks, stay on schedule, and give Burrow opportunities to find his rhythm. The longer he stays on the field, the more likely he is to settle in. And a settled-in Joe Burrow is one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the league. For the Ravens' defense, pressure will be everything. If they can collapse the pocket, force Burrow off his spot, and disrupt his timing, that's where their advantage lies. They have the athletes to do it. But consistency is the key. A couple of strong drives won't be enough. Baltimore needs for full quarters of energy and discipline because Cincinnati is playing with desperation now. This isn't a team that's going to come in and sleepwalk through a division rivalry game. They know what's at stake. They know what this win would mean. They know how much a loss would hurt. And teams with their backs against the wall often play with a fire that's hard to match. Meanwhile, on Baltimore's side of the ball, everyone is looking not just at Lamar but at the supporting cast around him. The receivers need to tighten up after some brutal drops in recent weeks. The play calling needs more creativity and less predictability. The offensive line needs to show urgency from the opening drive. This is a moment for the entire offense to respond. If they want to silence the critics, if they want to show that the past few slower offensive games were just bumps in the road, this is the stage to do it. National spotlight, holiday night, rivalry game. Every opportunity is there to make a statement. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. The NFL world is buzzing, and it seems all eyes are on Ja'Marr Chase after what some are calling a post-game spectacle. The Bengals' star wide receiver, known as much for his explosive plays on the field as for his larger-than-life personality off it, reportedly didn't hold back after the latest clash with the Ravens. Sources close to the locker room suggest that Chase's comments went far beyond the usual post-game bravado. Whispers around the league indicate that Chase, still riding the adrenaline from a game where he was in the spotlight, took aim at Baltimore's defense in a way that has many insiders calling it one of the most heated exchanges in recent memory. Teammates reportedly tried to calm him down, but the wide receiver's energy was reportedly uncontainable. Fans and analysts alike are dissecting every word, wondering if this was a calculated move to get under the Ravens' skin or simply the raw passion of a player who thrives on competition. The reaction across social media has been instantaneous. Clips of Chase's post-game remarks are trending, sparking debates from coast to coast. Some argue it's classic Ja'Marr, confident, outspoken, and fearless, while others suggest the comments could light a fire under the Ravens for the next meeting. Either way, the buzz is undeniable, and NFL insiders say locker rooms are abuzz with speculation about how Baltimore might respond, and whether Chase's remarks could set the tone for a rivalry that already has its share of sparks. Rumors are swirling that coaches from both sides have already had to intervene behind closed doors, trying to temper the tension while acknowledging the psychological games that come with top-tier football. It's the kind of storyline that sells tickets, drives ratings, and keeps fans glued to every highlight. If nothing else, Chase has reminded the league that he's not just a playmaker on the field. He's a headline maker off it, too, as the rumor mill churns. One thing is certain, wherever Ja'Marr Chase goes, the drama follows. Whether this will escalate into a full-blown feud or simply remain a spicy anecdote in NFL lore, The league and its fans are watching closely. The Bengals-Ravens saga just got a lot hotter. And with Chase in the mix, no one is willing to look away. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.